Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Steve. Thanks for joining us this week. We talk about a lot of topics, in the Microsoft solution world. This one is a little bit different than what we normally talk about. Usually we're in that sort of modern work and security space. But today we're going to talk about Business Central. We're going to talk about the world of Dynamics 365 and Business Central specifically because it fits into our core customers' wheelhouse, right? That small and medium business, really looking to bring together their back office in some meaningful and super productive ways. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about kind of the landscape a little bit. I've got some cool examples of the kind of out of the box capability and integration that you have. We'll talk about some of the benefits and some of the return on investment. Financial engineering, or sort of doing things to build and accelerate the business from the back office is something a lot of folks don't actually think about. They think about sales, they think about delivery, they think about the manufacturing process, the distribution process, but there's a lot actually to be gained from back office improvements. And then I actually have a special guest this week. Brittany DiCicco, who's our sales director, is going to come on and talk a little bit about how to engage with Apex when it comes to this solution. I'm really looking forward to talking to her as well. And so, many of us have started small businesses, worked in small and medium-sized businesses, and usually you start out with spreadsheets, QuickBooks. I remember the days before QuickBooks Online, and it was just QuickBooks, and something you were running locally. And you end up with these processes that were sort of built out of necessity, invented, in the early stages of your business. But then as the business grows, you find that you're a little bit bogged down. It's really hard to change these things, once they get ingrained in the environment. Total transparency. It's one of the growing pains we are always feeling, is that how do our systems and tools, as well as our process, keep up with us as we try and grow the business? And so Business Central is really designed to be that all-in-one integrated solution for your back office. Having, finance and operations, talk to sales, talk to project, talk to the GL is something that is super, super important. And again, transparently, something that we're working towards here at Apex as well. And so the goal with Business Central was to bring all of these tools under one umbrella, all the way from sales and service management through delivery of projects, running the business from an operations standpoint, running your supply chain, and doing that financial management and engineering. Again, this is one of those areas where I think a lot of small and medium businesses actually have additional room for productivity gains, and for actual business advantages, right? What happens if you're the business in your space that's quicker and more buttoned up when it comes to operations? That can definitely be a business advantage, and something that Business Central really unlocks for a lot of our customers. It wouldn't be a Microsoft presentation without the capability sheet. If you're looking at packages like this, our experience with customers is there's a certain element of, even if it's not sort of a true RFP, there's a box checking exercise that says, hey, my finance team needs these things. My service delivery team needs this. My sales professionals need this. And Business Central does all of those things in those different areas. Excuse me. But the forever argument is sort of best of breed tool versus integrated suite, right? I'm so old that I remember this discussion with productivity tools, right? What if WordPerfect was a little bit better than Microsoft Word? Sure, it's a little bit better, but then you have to also go, well, what's the cost of having WordPerfect and Excel and Lotus Notes and all of these other tools that come from different vendors, perhaps have different styles, different different looks and feels and so forth. And so this conversation has been going on forever, and there's no answer, right? It's one of those fun consulting answers where I get to say it depends. For a lot of customers, though, the price of non-integration, the price of having these tools be sort of discrete tools within your environment can come with a pretty high cost, and that integration can have a huge benefit. And not only is it integration within the Business Central suite, but it's also integration up and down the Microsoft stack. The fact that it's built off of all the tools your employees and partners are familiar with. It uses the same developer tools. It integrates with the Power Platform. I know we're doing more and more work for customers when it comes to Power Platform, sort of the application platform for the rest of us, where we can do amazing things, but in WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get kinds of application and development languages, versus writing assembler or something like that. And so the fact that it sits on top of this stack not only gives you the integrated suite when it comes to a Business Central level, but it also gives you an integrated feel up and down the stack for a lot of our customers, right? That's not to say everybody's in this place, but certainly because of what we do, because of our customer base, we have a lot of customers that get that integration sort of bonus all the way up and down. And then built on Azure, built on, those scalable and reliable tools like SQL and access and security tools that you're already using. It's 100% sort of snap into your environment and then adopt these key criteria that the rest of your applications and platforms need, right? That they need that security. They need, business continuity and compliance, and Business Central just maps into the same environment. Application security, again, we're talking, Azure Active Directory or whatever it's been renamed these days, Entra ID. We're talking about the same users, the same integrations, the same conditional access, the same password rules, all of those kinds of things that you're probably already doing in your environment. And because of that, Business Central is a really, really easy bolt-on, even when you're talking about some of the advanced concerns you have, like security. And then Microsoft loves to tell you do more with less. In my time at Microsoft physically, I did get over this whole, the Walmart of software and feeling bad about that. But there's really something magic about being the provider that brings software like this to small and medium businesses, right? I talk about Teams a lot, and I talk about Entra ID and some of the security pieces, and the same functionality that's there for Ford and GM is there for small and medium companies, right? The same kinds of policy approaches, the same kinds of incredibly powerful tools scale down and have return on investment all the way down to those small businesses. And so whether you think about it as a track cost savings, or you're more sort of TCO and think about the productivity pieces that are incorporated there as well, what you have is a real nice scenario when it comes to getting return on investment with Business Central. And we'd love to be your partner for that. We'll bring Brittany on here in a few minutes to kind of talk about working with Apex. And it's something that we want to bring to the market and bring to new and existing customers so that they can do all these same things. We're on the road with Dynamics as well, continuing to add more and more functionality to our Dynamics implementation. And as we do that, just like my sellers, spend a lot of time in Teams, they spend a lot of time in SharePoint and other tools and things like that. That makes them better able to have that conversation. We're really walking that same road with Dynamics. So for this next section, what I did is I just grabbed a few examples in these three pillars. The first one being adapt faster. And so let's take a look at a couple of those key scenarios. One of them is built-in mobility, right? Whether you're on an iPad or an Android or an iOS phone, Business Central gives you the tools to take this stuff on the road with you, right? Whether it's my sellers or the marketers on our team, having those tools with them on the go is critically important. And the ability to move into an ERP system and have those tools ready to go for you with customizable views, with customizable looks and feels. But I've come to grips with the fact that, a lot of times in life, you're just not that special, right? There's lots of small and medium businesses in the world, and a lot of them have figured out what they need. And because of that, Business Central, reflects an 80-90% sort of out of the box look and feel, and mobile applications is definitely one of them. But then on the flip side, there's also this customization, right? Industry specific applications. Through a couple of volunteer endeavors, I've learned a lot more about nonprofit and fraternal organizations. And, they really have specific needs, right? They think about member bases and chapters and those kinds of things. And there are add-ons for Business Central that give you that industry or sort of domain specific lens. Not exactly right out of the box, but box adjacent, right? Through AppSource, there's thousands of apps that are designed to give you that industry or domain specific lens on what you're doing with Business Central as a platform. The next pillar I think about really is work smarter. And so a couple of ideas, a couple of examples of what that looks like. It wouldn't be a Microsoft presentation these days without mentioning Copilot. If I don't mention Copilot at least once an hour, I have to put $1 in a jar. So I'm safe now, at least until the top of the hour. But Copilot has a footprint within Business Central. It is one of those sort of domain or application specific copilots where you can reach in and you can ask those kinds of questions and get the kinds of insight that's built off of your data, right? How do we take that large language model approach and bring it internal to the organization, whether it's your Teams and SharePoint data or whether it's your CRM and ERP data, right? And so Copilot enabled Business Central is something that can add a lot of value. I also kind of mentioned the collaborative applications, the fact that you can be in Business Central and escalate it to a Teams conversation, escalate it to a call, escalate it to a meeting, right? Also, sharing documents and bringing that full life cycle of what you do out of the CRM system, out of the ERP system, and into the tools that everybody's using each and every day. We've sort of morphed from a desktop world, everything on your desktop, to a bit of everything in Teams, and Business Central certainly embraces that continued evolution. And so here's an example of, being able to bring, data directly from, say, a product catalog right into a Teams channel or a Teams conversation, be able to even edit the data going back and forth between, whatever context you happen to be in. I think one of the struggles that platforms like Business Central always have is that sort of, I used to call it like turn in the chair, like I'm on this system. Oh, now I want to do something else. I have to go over to this system. I think of it that way because literally my first job, I had 2 monitors on my desktop and 2 keyboards because they were, the 2 systems were literally that discrete. And so the fact that, if we can get that single pane of glass into most, if not all of our business necessary systems, that really goes a long way for productivity and accuracy, and really kind of keeping your employees happy. And then the last one is those happy employees performing even better than they are today. One of the things that I think makes for better decisions is better information. Oftentimes I'll see people, executives at customers or out in the world, doing their best with decisions, but on limited information. What's really sad is when that information is artificially limited, or it doesn't have to be limited. And so with Business Central, you can surface all that data. So at least we're making well-informed decisions, right? We might not always get it right, but at least we're building in as much information into the decision-making process, into the, hey, we need to make a change process within your environment. And when all this data is connected, it really leads to improved sales, improved customer service. This is a journey we're on right now, really doing a better job with, hey, what did our customer success team hear in their last meeting? How does it influence the next sales call? And how does our delivery executive think about how that influences how she's delivering projects, right? And so being able to have all that data connected is so, so important. Again, it's a journey, right? We're doing a better job than we were yesterday, which makes me happy. I'm very proud of the team. But there's always, instances where, hey, we missed tracking this email, or this contact's not, or in CRM, or we haven't updated a company profile or something like that. So it's always a journey, but taking down the obstacles or taking down the barriers to making that difficult is something that Business Central does really, really well. And I think it's one of the key benefits that folks see relatively quickly. And then when it comes to, delivering your work, whether it's services, projects, whatever it might be, is being able to have the insight to finish on time and under budget. Our delivery team does an amazing job of doing that each and every day. And I just want to keep building up tools that really help them do that more and more each and every day, right? Based off of, coalescing the insights into, hey, when projects look like X, this happens with pretty regularity. How do we plan for that and do those kinds of things? It's really the next part of our journey, is getting our project world, our delivery world, tightly integrated into everything we do with our back office operations, so that we can provide the same level of insight across the organization, even coming from the world of projects. And then lastly, before we bring Brittany on, just, again, revisiting, there's going to be ROI here. There's ROI out of the box. The joke used to be with Salesforce or Oracle kinds of implementations is, you buy the product and then you have an army of consultants for 3 years trying to make it work for you. Business Central is designed for organizations like ours to really 80-20, 90-10 kind of rule when it comes to working out of the box and delivering that return on investment from early on in the process. So let's go ahead and bring Brittany on and talk a little bit about our sales and engagement journey here at Apex. So Brittany, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, Business Central, it's under the Microsoft umbrella. It's a little bit different than some of our other modern work solutions, but how are those early conversations with customers going?
Good. It is different than what we're selling, historically or, traditionally, but I think it tells a really good story and ties in. You talked about work smarter. And so I think everybody can probably relate to the fact of the days when you're quoting in one system and invoicing out of another and sending emails out of something else. And so Dynamics really as a whole system is super awesome in the fact that it's integrating with everything put together. And I think that's what excites customers the most. Accounting has their licensing in Business Central, and they want to reach out to an engineer or somebody on delivery who doesn't typically belong in Business Central, but they can share it in Teams and get them the information that they need versus pulling a report and sending it out separately. So I really think the integration across the platform is the key benefit of, using a system like this.
Yeah, I feel like Microsoft has really embraced the notion that no matter how hard you try, everybody's not going to go into your native CRM platform. Everybody's not going to go into your
Right.
native project platform. And so they really seem to have embraced sort of unlocking that. But I'm also guessing that we're having conversations with different people at our customers as well, right? Obviously, as a 25-year MSP, our history is talking to CIOs and chief security officers and things like that. What kind of new roles are you talking to when you talk about Business Central?
I mean, exactly. So we're talking less about like traditional tech and impact at like an operational level. So we're seeing people in different finance departments and how can they integrate better with their business. We're talking to people in delivery and in that space as well, sales as well. So it's really taking the operational side and bringing it kind of into more of a technical conversation. And what is it going to have as an impact on the business overall? Versus some sort of new tech that is rolling out that people can start to embrace. It's really just bringing more of an operational focus forward.
Yeah, I think it's been an interesting journey over the last 10 years that, cloud software has really unlocked the purchasing decisions out of, just the IT piece because it required a server running something plugged into an Ethernet hub, and all those kinds of things to being, no, what we're purchasing is a service. We're purchasing a service that leads to an outcome. And so as you think about customers, what's your ideal meeting? Do you have the CFO and IT in the room? Do you like to start having that conversation at a business level? Like, what's your approach to working with these customers and making sure everybody's on board?
Obviously, if all the key players are available and the stars align, then that's great. But I think the people that are really truly impacted are able to sell the story back to the business the best. And so, I'd say it doesn't need to be the top decision maker if they're not available. I think getting people on board and selling them the story of how it's going to make their business better is probably the most impactful way I've seen this sale go forward.
And one of the things I'm sure that you get asked is, what about support? What about follow up? And my understanding is that we've partnered with someone to ensure that day two of Business Central, we've got them covered when it comes to questions, support, and problems. So how do we accomplish that?
We have a great team of people being able to help support, post implementation. So we're really here to have you covered. We have a plan in place to help kind of drive out what the implementation is going to look like.
Yeah, I'm thinking specifically, it's not just our team, but with Pax8 kind of
Yeah.
backing us up and
Yep.
and being able to escalate and because at some point you will be beyond our depth when it comes to Business Central, just transparently. And so it's a
Yeah.
great partnership that you've put in place with Pax8.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, they are the experts here. They're really driving this. They've got this whole kind of packaged implementation down to a science. And so it's been really great partnering with them because they have a great clear vision, which has made it scalable and sellable for sure.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they actually made a very strategic acquisition about 18 months ago of an organization that had taken Business Central and basically made it not 100% self-serve, but really something that could fly off the shelf at scale.
Yeah, they actually they had purchased a company called Bamboom Cloud, and their mission was really like I just had mentioned, understand what the client's needs were, and then do these deployments. And overdoing deployments, repeatedly, they were able to make these out of the box deployment packages. So they have everything from the do it yourself kit. Your team is, able enough to do the implementation yourself and you want to give it a try, you can do that. Or they have ones that can be, like a hybrid, a co deployment, or we do the whole deployment yourself. And then, let's say we dig in and we realize that the deployment's, a bit more complex than something that fits into these boxes. There's other partners within the ecosystem that can help support. So we really can do anything from do it yourself to completely custom. We get a group of experts in here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me on Fridays with Steve. I really appreciate it. And your team's ready to answer the phone and answer the emails that come flowing in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and reach out via email or, on the phone. We'd love to talk more about this solution with everybody.
Awesome. Thanks again, Brittany. I really appreciate you joining me.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. And so that was a little bit from our sales director, Brittany DiCicco. She and her team are ready to roll when it comes to Business Central. We have a great partnership, like she alluded to, with Pax8. They are sort of our backstop for everything we do in this space. I think one of the questions that customers can have is just, where does the buck stop, and we have that in place, whether it's Pax8 or whether it's our relationship with Microsoft, across all of these solutions, to be able to answer any questions, bring anything to conclusion when it comes to whether it's implementation or whether it's support. And so, we've been around a long time and servicing customers in lots of different spaces. I'm excited to bring Business Central to the market and be able to service customers in that space as well. We had avoided the big box, CRM and ERP implementations, but between Pax8 and Business Central and the sort of the strategic IP they inherited with the acquisition of Bamboo Cloud, we really think we've got a solution now that is sort of Apex ready for the world. And so, like Brittany alluded to, reach out to your account executive if you're already connected with us, or send a note to sales@apexdigital.com. As always, you can just reach out directly to me, sthompson@apexdigital.com. Happy to share slides, happy to have a conversation about this or any other topics. We're still doing co-pilot briefings, and so apexdigital.com. You can schedule your co-pilot briefing with me. We can talk about that part as well. I mentioned it twice this hour, so I guess I'm good for the next hour without having to put $1 in the jar. And so thanks for joining us. Reach out to Brittany directly here on the screen if you like as well. Appreciate your time. We'll see you next time on Fridays with Steve.